History, as it has been meticulously catalogued and largely accepted, is a narrative fundamentally constructed by the powerful, and for countless millennia, that power has been overwhelmingly concentrated in the hands of men. The ancient world, a tumultuous epoch defined by colossal empires, incessant warfare, political intrigue, and profound philosophical changes, appears on the surface to be a realm solely governed by the will of kings, pharaohs, and male emperors. Yet to accept this as the full historical truth is to embrace a profound oversight. Hidden beneath the dense layers of dusty Roman administrative texts, the fragmented annals of Greek histories, and the epic poems that glorify male heroism, there are astonishing, powerful stories of women whose ambition, strategic genius, military acumen, and sheer indomitable force of will not only challenged but frequently managed to utterly defeat the greatest male-led powers of their time. These are the narratives that survived the relentless march of censorship and destruction, precisely because they refused to be erased from the collective memory. These women were not figures confined to domesticity or limited to purely symbolic roles. They were architects who oversaw the construction of magnificent cities, engineers who devised complex logistical systems, and commanders who led vast armies that intimidated the legions of the time. They were pioneers, strategists, and legends who ruled with an iron fist and an extraordinary intellect in their own right. However, their accomplishments were often treated with deep suspicion by the very patriarchal systems that were compelled to document them. The male chroniclers of the age frequently found themselves unable to reconcile female authority with their cultural norms, inevitably resorting to transforming these leaders into mythical, cautionary figures, labeling them either as dangerous sorceresses, manipulative seductresses, or overly ambitious tyrants who represented a deviation from the acceptable feminine ideal. The central, challenging question we must pose is this: what if the very legends, which were often exaggerated or invented to either frighten the populace or discredit the foreign ruler, are, in their essence, a more accurate gauge of their monumental impact and terrifying power than the dry, terse historical accounts? For the next half hour, we will embark on an intensive intellectual journey. We will meticulously strip away the layers of patriarchal bias and examine the archaeological evidence and conflicting primary sources to uncover the real, fierce, and undeniable power that defined 5 extraordinary women. They not only shaped history but became immortal legends. Their struggles are not merely academic lessons from antiquity. They are enduring blueprints for understanding the true, unyielding nature of leadership, resilience, and command in a world determined to deny them that right. Let us begin our comprehensive analysis in the ancient Near East, with a queen whose name is so deeply intertwined with splendor, conquest, and architectural wonder that she is virtually the ultimate architect of myth, Semiramis. The stories surrounding Semiramis, or Shamuramat, as she is known in contemporary Assyrian sources, are arguably the most heavily embellished in ancient history. The Persian and Greek traditions, far removed from her actual lifetime, weave elaborate myths, claiming she was the daughter of the fish goddess Derceto, abandoned as a child, and miraculously raised in the wilderness by doves before being discovered by a shepherd. This fantastical origin was clearly necessary to rationalize a woman attaining such singular power. Historically, Shamuramat was the wife of King Shamshi-Adad Bifsaiv of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Her unexpected and powerful ascendancy began in 811 BC. The Assyrian state was undergoing a period of severe internal fragmentation and political instability following the king's death. Crucially, Shamuramat's son, Adad-nirari III, was still too young to legally ascend the throne. In a political culture where the king's authority was seen as divinely ordained and absolute, Shamuramat's decision to assume the role of queen regent was a profound, revolutionary break from tradition. Her reign, which lasted 5 crucial years, 801–806 BC, was not a passive interlude. She was militarily and diplomatically active, instrumental in stabilizing the sprawling empire and consolidating the critical territorial gains that stretched across Mesopotamia and the Levant. Her leadership during the military campaigns, documented through boundary stones and inscriptions, was the bedrock upon which her son's long and successful reign was built. This 5-year period of female rule in Assyria remains a unique and staggering historical anomaly. Shamuramat's transformation from a powerful regent into an immortal legend was primarily fueled by non-Assyrian historians, most notably the Greek writers Ctesias of Cnidus and Diodorus Siculus. Writing centuries later, these accounts dramatically magnified her historical existence. They depicted her not as a regent, but as a fearless, world-spanning conqueror who ruled entirely in her own right. Ctesias attributes to her the establishment of vast cities, extensive military campaigns that reached as far as Egypt, and an audacious, though ultimately unsuccessful, invasion of India. Diodorus Siculus further elaborates, describing her phenomenal infrastructure projects. The most enduring and perhaps most historically misleading part of the Semiramis legend is the attribution of the construction of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon to her personal order. While historical consensus overwhelmingly points to Nebuchadnezzar II as the builder, the association of the gardens, a feat of engineering categorized as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, with Semiramis perfectly cemented her status as a quasi-divine mythical builder. This mythological link vividly exposes Shamuramat's true lasting legacy, her mastery of political propaganda and strategic symbolism. She understood instinctively that an artificially constructed, awe-inspiring narrative, a legend, was infinitely more resilient and potent than a simple reign recorded in obscure court records. By deliberately allowing her achievements to be blended with the supernatural and associating her name with unparalleled monumental works, she transcended the limitations of her era and secured a mythological place in history that few others, male or female, ever managed to achieve. The name Semiramis became the permanent benchmark for absolute female power and monumental splendor across the entire ancient world. The legend of Semiramis, unlike those of many other ancient figures, only grew and darkened through the Middle Ages. She was frequently invoked in classical literature, becoming a symbol of both ruthless ambition and overwhelming sensuality. In European literature, she sometimes appears as a figure of tragic fate, but more often, as in Dante's Inferno, she is presented as a paradigm of lust and tyranny, a moral cautionary tale created by a male-dominated medieval worldview. Despite the negative framing, the consistent presence of her story across cultures, from Armenian folklore, where she is known as Shamiram in the tale of Ara the Beautiful, to Renaissance art, underscores the power of her actual historical reign. Her legacy is a study in how a historical figure can be mythologized into an ultimate archetype. She remains the unparalleled example of a woman whose power was so terrifyingly real that the only way subsequent generations could process it was by making her into a figure larger and more dangerous than life itself. She stands as the eternal symbol of a ruler who commanded power simply because she was deemed worthy of it, demanding tribute and obedience from emperors and gods alike. We now turn to the tumultuous 6th century BC and to the fierce nomadic tribes residing east of the Caspian Sea, specifically the formidable Massagetæ. Their leader was the uncompromising warrior queen Tomyris. Her story unfolds against the immense backdrop of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, led by its brilliant founder Cyrus the Great. Cyrus, having successfully conquered Media, Lydia, and Babylon, was now at the zenith of his power and ambition, determined to solidify his eastern frontier. This expansion brought his vast organized army into direct confrontation with the Massagetæ, a strong, culturally distinct society built around peerless horseback archery and mobile warfare. Tomyris's initial political response was astute. Cyrus sought to absorb her people through an advantageous marriage, a common imperial strategy. Tomyris, recognizing this as a clear prelude to subjugation, staunchly refused, stating that the marriage was an attempt to take her kingdom through cunning, not through strength. Her firm rejection rendered the military confrontation tragically inevitable. She understood that her people's sovereignty could only be maintained by force. The Massagetæ were not mere barbarians. They were a highly organized military force with a culture that respected and elevated strong female leadership. Tomyris was their undisputed leader and commander-in-chief. The primary source for this epic conflict is the Greek historian Herodotus in his histories. His narrative portrays a campaign of treachery and savage retribution. Cyrus, unable to defeat the Massagetæ in a direct battle, resorted to a deceptive stratagem. He ordered his forces to retreat, leaving behind a lavish, seemingly abandoned camp stocked with vast quantities of food and, critically, abundant wine. Tomyris's son, Spargapises, leading the advance party, seized the camp. His nomadic soldiers, unaccustomed to the intoxicating effects of wine, celebrated and became hopelessly inebriated. The Persians immediately returned, overwhelmed the drunken force, and captured Spargapaces, who, upon regaining sobriety and realizing his monumental shame and military failure, took his own life. This treacherous act immediately transformed the war from a political territorial dispute into a profoundly personal and savage quest for vengeance for the grieving Mother Queen. Tomyris sent a second chilling message to Cyrus, vowing that for his treachery and his insatiable thirst for blood, she would ensure he received a bloody reward. The final battle, Herodotus claims, was an apocalyptic event, the fiercest, most desperate, and most chaotic ever fought between nations up to that time. Tomyris personally led her forces, deploying a relentless nomadic counterattack that ultimately broke the Persian line and delivered a staggering, unprecedented defeat to the armies of Cyrus. The legend culminates in the dramatic fulfillment of Tomyris's vow. After the battle, she captured Cyrus's body. True to her promise, she commanded a bowl to be filled with the blood of the Persian dead, and plunging Cyrus's severed head into the sanguine liquid, she delivered her final, damning pronouncement. "Though I am alive and have conquered you, you have ruined me by taking my son. I have promised you your fill of blood, and now I will give it." While the precise historical details of Cyrus's death are still subject to scholarly debate, the sheer power of Tomyris's legend is absolute. She is enshrined in history as the ruler who not only successfully defended her people's sovereignty and strategic independence, but personally exacted a brutal, symbolic retribution from the founder of the world's first major empire. Tomyris is the eternal, uncompromising symbol of national defiance, military genius, and righteous maternal vengeance against the overwhelming force of imperial aggression. Her figure remains a source of national pride and fierce independence throughout Central Asia. Our journey now takes us to the northern frontier of the empire in the 1st century AD, to the cold, rainy shores of ancient Britannia, where the organized might of the Roman Empire met its match in the devastating fury of the Iceni queen Boudica. The political reality was bleak. Following the death of King Prasutagus, Boudica's husband, who had attempted to safeguard his tribal independence through a treaty that would divide his kingdom between his family and the Roman Emperor Nero, the Romans immediately violated the agreement. The imperial procurator Catus Decianus, known for his greed and cruelty, seized the Iceni lands, enslaved their noblemen, publicly had Queen Boudica flogged, and, the ultimate act of colonial dehumanization, ordered the rape of her 2 daughters. This was more than a political violation. It was a profound, total cultural and personal desecration that provided the ignition point for a massive, unprecedented revolt. The response was instantaneous and apocalyptic. Boudica, driven by an unquenchable thirst for justice and revenge, rallied not only her own Iceni tribe, but also the neighboring Trinovantes and other Celtic factions that were simmering under the weight of Roman taxation and brutality. Our knowledge of Boudica's appearance and ferocity comes from the Roman historians Tacitus, whose father-in-law served in Britain, and Cassius Dio. Though filtered through Roman bias, their accounts are essential. They describe her as a visually imposing figure, a tall woman with a stunning cascade of fiery red hair that reached her hips, often seen wearing a magnificent golden torque and a vibrant multicolored tunic. They recount her delivering electrifying, highly motivational speeches to her forces, appealing directly to their shared honor, ancient freedoms, and need for retribution against the foreign invaders. The revolt, which erupted around 60 AD, was relentless and terrifying in its scale. Boudica's massive, frenzied army first descended upon Camulodunum, modern Colchester, the former Roman capital and a hated symbol of the oppressive Roman veteran colonies, razing it to the ground. They then marched upon the major commercial center of Londinium, London, and the administrative hub of Verulamium, St. Albans. The scale of the violence was staggering. Roman estimates suggest that over 70,000 Roman citizens and loyalists were indiscriminately slaughtered, men, women, and children, in a chilling reflection of the brutality previously inflicted upon the Britons. For a brief, terrifying, and exhilarating period, it seemed this furious Celtic warrior queen might actually succeed in achieving the impossible: the complete expulsion of the legions from the entire province of Britannia. Her fighting was not for land expansion, It was a visceral, absolute demand for freedom, dignity, and personal retribution. The inevitable confrontation came when the Roman governor Suetonius Paulinus, a meticulous and ruthless commander, finally massed his professional legions. The ensuing battle was a tactical masterclass for the Romans. Despite the vastly superior numbers of the Britons, the Romans' legendary discipline, superior equipment, and strategic use of a narrow terrain advantage proved devastatingly decisive. Boudica's untrained though courageous army was utterly crushed. The queen, according to Tacitus, tragically chose to take poison rather than endure the utter humiliation of Roman capture and public display. However, the terror Boudica inflicted had lasting effects. The sheer scale of the revolt forced Emperor Nero to seriously contemplate abandoning the resource-draining province altogether. It fundamentally altered Rome's colonial strategy in Britain, forcing a shift from reckless exploitation to a more cautious, long-term approach. Boudica's story, though initially suppressed, survived in Celtic folklore. She was later dramatically resurrected in the Victorian era, a time of British imperial pride, where she became an ultimate national heroine. Her figure, a powerful, commanding woman in a war chariot, became a widely accepted symbol of British fortitude, military courage, and eternal defiance against any foreign threat, establishing her as an enduring international icon of resistance. Our analysis now centers on the 3rd century AD, focusing on the wealthy, sophisticated, and strategically vital oasis city of Palmyra, located precisely at the crossroads between the faltering Roman Empire and the newly resurgent Sasanian Persian Empire. This is the realm of the immensely ambitious and capable ruler, Septimia Zenobia. Zenobia's opportunity arose from a catastrophic geopolitical event known as the Crisis of the 3rd Century. The vast Roman Empire was in a state of near collapse, fractured by internal civil wars, hyperinflation, rapid succession crises, the barracks emperors, and continuous barbarian incursions. Palmyra, as a prosperous and neutral trading hub, was uniquely positioned to capitalize on this chaos. Zenobia herself was an extraordinary cultured figure, a noted intellectual and polymath who was reportedly fluent in multiple languages, including Egyptian, Latin, and Greek. She meticulously cultivated a lineage myth, claiming direct descent from both Cleopatra and the legendary founders of Carthage, consciously linking her destiny to the great female rulers of antiquity. Her political ascent came after the assassination of her husband Odaenathus, a powerful Roman client king who had successfully defended the east from the Persians. Zenobia immediately stepped up to rule the crucial buffer state on behalf of her young son, Vabalithus. Recognizing Rome's crippling internal division, her subsequent actions were swift and breathtakingly ambitious. She first consolidated local power. Then, in a series of highly effective military campaigns led by her generals and possibly herself, she declared complete independence. Her formidable loyal armies rapidly annexed Roman territories, capturing Egypt, a vital Roman grain source, and expanding across large swathes of Anatolia. At its absolute apex, the Palmyrene Empire, operating under Zenobia's strategic command, directly rivaled the territory, wealth, and influence of Rome itself. Zenobia's final audacious move was to formally title herself Augusta, Empress, and her son Augustus, directly challenging the authority and legitimacy of the reigning Roman emperors in the West. She presided over a sophisticated Hellenized court, actively funding art, philosophy, and sciences, and explicitly positioned her empire as the legitimate new capital of the entire civilized East. Her challenge was not merely regional, it was existential. She aimed to cleave the Roman world in two, establishing a permanent, powerful Eastern Roman Empire under her own powerful, brilliant dynasty. This independent empire, forged through strategy and warfare, lasted a fleeting but glorious 5 years. The Emperor Aurelian, a masterful general later known as the Restorer of the World, finally stabilized Rome and focused his undivided military attention eastward. Aurelian proved an overwhelming force. He defeated Zenobia's armies in crucial battles at Emesa and Daphne and laid siege to Palmyra itself. The queen, realizing her defeat was imminent, was captured while desperately attempting to flee to Persia to secure desperately needed aid. She was ultimately transported to Rome to be displayed in Aurelian's magnificent, triumphant parade, the ultimate ritualistic symbol of imperial defeat and humiliation. The decision regarding Zenobia's fate was monumental. Unlike other defeated enemies who were inevitably executed or enslaved, Zenobia was spared. She was, according to multiple Roman sources, granted a lavish, opulent villa near Tivoli, and lived out her remaining years as a respected Roman noblewoman. This extraordinary act by Aurelian is arguably the greatest testament to her sheer power and influence. Even in utter defeat, the great queen who had stood against the core power of the empire was viewed as too formidable, too respected, or perhaps too politically dangerous to simply execute. Her survival cemented her legacy as the ruler who, though losing the war, utterly terrified Rome and proved that even at its peak, the Western Empire was deeply vulnerable to the intellect and will of one single brilliant woman. Her story is the most powerful example of a female ruler who engineered a brilliant but tragically brief attempt to reshape the geopolitical map of the ancient world. Our final focus shifts from the political empires to the foundational spiritual and judicial records of the earliest Israelites, highlighting a woman of profound justice, unwavering faith, and military necessity. Deborah, the unique female judge and prophetess mentioned in the Book of Judges. Deborah's story is rooted not in dynastic right or imperial conquest, but in spiritual and communal authority during a turbulent period of extreme fragmentation and existential threat to the fledgling tribes of Israel. She stands as the only female figure in the Bible to hold the highest combination of legal and spiritual authority, that of a judge who arbitrates law, and a prophetess who speaks on behalf of God. Her role was uniquely public. She held court under the palm of Deborah in the hill country between Ramah and Bethel, where the people of Israel came to her for arbitration, justice, and the divine delivery of God's law. Her leadership served as a vital, unifying social and political anchor during a period when the 12 tribes faced continuous, brutal oppression from local Canaanite city-states. Deborah's legend is definitively secured by her military and strategic action. When the Canaanite general Sisera severely oppressed the Israelites with his powerful army, Deborah took the decisive initiative. She summoned the military commander, Barak, and acting as the supreme commander, issued a clear, direct divine order to raise an army of 10,000 men and lead them to Mount Tabor to attack the Canaanite forces. Barak, hesitant to lead his people into battle without spiritual backing, famously stated that he would only go if she personally accompanied him. Deborah's response was firm and prophetic. She agreed to go but declared that because of his wavering, the ultimate glory of the victory would not go to him, but would fall into the hands of a woman. The ensuing battle against the Canaanite army, particularly Sisera's iron chariots at the river Kishon, was a comprehensive and decisive victory for the Israelites. The glory Deborah had prophesied was delivered by Jael, a woman from a neutral tribe who executed the fleeing Sisera while he slept in her tent. This monumental triumph is forever enshrined in the Song of Deborah, Judges 5, one of the oldest and most powerful passages of victory poetry in the entire Hebrew Bible. It is a stunning, detailed primary source that documents her authority, strategic success, and unwavering faith. Deborah's story is an essential counter-narrative to the prevailing historical record. It reminds us that even within the confines of ancient Israelite culture, which generally established clear gendered divisions of labor, the crisis of survival and the overwhelming need for divine justice could elevate a woman to the absolute apex of political, judicial, and military authority. She remains a foundational, scriptural example of female leadership being crucial to the survival and deliverance of an entire nation. Her legacy is a testament to the fact that true leadership resides in wisdom, faith, and decisive action, not merely in traditional power structures. Semiramis, Tomyris, Boudica, Zenobia, and Deborah. Their personal timelines are separated by millennia, their domains by vast hostile geographies, from the deserts of Mesopotamia and Syria to the vast steppes of Central Asia and the cold, green hills of Britannia. Yet their extraordinary legacies are woven together by a common, unbreakable thread. They represent radical courage, overwhelming power, and the profound, unwavering conviction that allowed them to defy the established norms and the colossal, male-led empires of their respective eras. They governed without precedent, commanded armies against overwhelming odds, and challenged the might of the Persians and the Romans at their very zenith. They were not fragile figures of myth or mere footnotes. They were the formidable, undeniable historical anomalies whose sheer strength proved a universal truth. Women in the ancient world could be just as ambitious, just as ruthless, just as strategic, and just as visionary as any man. Their meticulously documented stories are a vital and powerful correction to the centuries of male-dominated historical omission and oversight. Their legends have survived millennia, not simply because they were militarily successful, but because their narratives resonate deeply with the eternal human struggle for autonomy, freedom, and the right to wield power. They prove unequivocally that the forces of strength, leadership, and the power to fundamentally alter history are forces utterly unconstrained by gender. Which of these magnificent, unconquerable women do you find the most surprising, or do you believe left the most revolutionary impact on the ancient world? We look forward to reading your analysis in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Bamboo Story for more deep dives into the legendary figures and untold narratives of history. Join us next time for our next monumental exploration.